You
Yeah,
are
gorgeous.
true creative. I
Yeah.
love you creative. Thank you.
Oh man, the timing of this conversation is, we just need to hit record, because I did have therapy earlier today. I won't go too much in detail, but I feel that.
I hit record after, but please share.
Okay. Yeah, okay. So I had therapy earlier today, and it was my second real session with this person. When I say real session, it wasn't just like an intro, finding out if I actually want to work with him, blah, blah, blah. It was like, we're in this now. We've already shared. Anyway, so then to kind of have that release, because it was very emotional. What I'm learning with therapy is that it is a place to share pain, and girl, do I have pain.
Yes.
And I mean that everyone, must have or carry their own emotional baggage, but having someone validate like your pain and not tell you that it's not valid is so powerful. Yeah. So I just feel like sharing space now with someone that I know, but we also share like interests, like this is just as powerful. So I'm very grateful for us being able to come back to one another. Although we live, in different places, we do different things, but it just goes to show you how just checking in with someone and genuinely having love for somebody, like how far that goes,
For sure. Absolutely. Yeah. It's also to continue what you're saying. It's like being able to check in with somebody where you trust you could be vulnerable with and share, like give the love, because you're going to receive the love back. So that container is this healing container of emotion for you.
Yes. I'm going to hit record too, because I didn't.
That's
it says I need permission. I'm just going to trust in whatever your screen does. I'm sure it'll be the same.
Oh, good. Well, first, Talia, if you also feel like in the middle of this, you are going to cry, let it.
Okay.
I'm going to cry with you.
I probably will.
Let it happen, because, the thing, again, it's like also divine timing and purpose and where we are with our emotional state. It's not like an emotional state where sometimes we're like, why are you emotional? No, emotions is the wisdom to how you could create the magic for yourself and others. And it's all different. Do you know what I mean? We all hold a different calibration of that magic. And the thing is, I don't know if you've heard of this, but like pre-colonization, like so many cultures, indigenous cultures, how much they honor the woman, because we hold a different connection to wisdom that's bigger than ourselves. And it's really connected to the cycle, the menstrual cycle, and why we're able to really feel and express and be so sensitive to everyone around us and ourselves. That's us filtering out something that's bigger and more divine than ourselves, that if we're only logic, we ignore. And that's something we haven't, as a people and as humanity, have been so disconnected to a point where people, we think we shouldn't cry or express, right? But what's beautiful is the divine feminine's coming back in, and we're like, whoa, how much we could hold power through the realness of our emotions and conversations like this. So if anything,
it feels so true. I mean, I'm not familiar with that story, but I appreciate learning that because I feel like my life is a lived experience of that description. I've never felt so much more connected to myself than now,
Yeah.
and like truly understanding and seeing clarity in my self purpose, whatever it is, existence. Um, and yeah, it's I love it here.
I know, I love it here. Do you feel
Yeah.
the clarity and in your purpose, like, just quick questions, like what sorts of like healing modalities or perhaps just like practices have you tried or explored to help you get here?
Hmm. Healing.
Yeah.
Whew. Well, I want to say it started with releasing the idea that I can't make a mistake. And that came from wanting to try something new, but not knowing where to start. Like, and that was with fitness, like weight training. It was just such a new thing to me. And it was like before the rise of like social media, everyone's a whatever. Like it really sparked inside of me after a breakup. And
Oh.
actually, I noticed something about myself. When someone tells me something that I can't do, it becomes my mission. It
Yeah.
becomes my mission to do it. And it's like not even just to prove to them, but like to prove to myself that I could do it. But it's like you don't have to do it on someone else's time. You know, it's like when you're ready.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah.
that might be me just being stubborn as well. Like I do have a stubborn personality. um, I'm very much a unconventional like person. I don't like authority. I don't like societal norms. I just never felt like I fit into most of these things. So it's just like, how could I keep searching and wanting to fit these molds that don't describe me, like they don't include me,
Oh.
you know?
Yeah.
Um,
Can you dive deeper on that then? If you don't mind. If you
well,
don't
it's
mind.
like, yeah, not having two parents. That's the first place I'll start. Like I grew up with my dad. You
Mm.
know, like I wasn't raised by a woman, I was raised by a male. I mean, the reality of my life is that I had a lot of support outside, but it wasn't from the conventional place. It wasn't from my parents and my mom and dad giving me advice or helping me with my homework. Like I
Mhm.
had to ask people around me that weren't my direct source, you know? And it's very difficult to maneuver through that, but I feel like that's how I make shit work. I had to look at what I had and make it work from like such a young age.
Mm.
Um and I wasn't the best student. Like I wasn't math is not my best friend. Like me and numbers, nah.
Right.
Yeah, hence why I'm a creative. I
Yeah,
just
you're
felt that relieved the stresses. That made me forget about having to ace a test or something or study.
like,
And yeah, I like strayed away from that once I was like finally done with like school. I cultivated that my art sense, and I was grateful to have a mentor, like a teacher to encourage me to go through those things, like sorry, to go down that path.
mhm.
Um so yeah, all that, like I mean, just speaking on the unconventional thing, like that's just how my life was structured.
Yeah. You
uh,
lived it and you
yeah,
created it that way. And look at
yeah,
all the magic that you created till this day.
it's taking me to be an adult now to see that like I've gone through it and I've made it through, and
Yeah.
you know it's working. You're here.
Right.
Keep going.
And you're deepening it. I'm just seeing you deepen
Mhm.
tools and also unraveling like the upbringing and what sort of program that you created for yourself to exist in this world. in a
Yeah.
world that society expects.
Yeah.
And but that reflection of that and seeing all the amazing things that you created, I applaud you. I'm very inspired by you. I think so many people are. Yeah. And the fact that you're able to even take it to where you are right now, you're continuing to do that. You pretty much know your formula, right? But you're also coming in to do a lot of the, people call it like shadow work. People call it just unlearning and then relearning, so that you could feel sovereign, you could feel free to understand your own unique magic to make it happen. And that to me is like the power of just being able to pause and create self-love, understand how to find your worth. And I applaud you so much. I mean, I think you and I, like, I've known you for a while. It's been
Yeah.
a while. And
Yeah.
like, we were in New York together. That's how you and I became friends. And we were in, well, the fashion world, the creative world. And again, just reflecting back of just seeing so much of your growth and your inner game.
Mm.
I admire it because I think a lot of people don't understand, like, especially if people aren't super into the wellness, or no, sorry, the creative field, I mean, there's an inner game that, like, no one knows what's going on behind the scenes, like in your head. And
Yeah.
you could be looking, everything's like a facade, if it seems great, but then it's also like, what's going on inside? You're like, I'm dying but I'm smiling. It's
Mm.
a lot of that stuff. But I'd like to take it to the beginning, because I also just first loved how we started it off with like the realness and deepness of you. But let's go back to the beginning. So, okay, you and I met in New York. Wait, what year was that? 20?
I want to say 11, 12.
Yeah.
Really?
Long time.
That
What?
was a wow.
We were completely different people.
Mm-hmm.
And do you want to, let's start there. Okay, so I was doing design, I was in fashion. Um, we met at Karmaloop,
Yep.
and we had a lot of fun. New York is
So much
crazy.
fun.
So much
Yeah.
fun. Like, I think we should just laugh because it's like,
I love that though. Like
yeah.
something that's the initial reaction I get from those times. Like it was just a lot of fun, and I feel like we were both obviously on a journey, discovering ourselves,
Yeah.
putting our skills to the test.
Yes. Hell,
And we started like a little family. Like we all were coming from different parts of the world of North America, and just contributing to the movement.
for sure. Yeah,
Hmm.
hell yeah. And had our own mini collaborations, which
Yeah,
9 years
we
later,
did.
we did.
We really did. I love that.
I mean, 9 years later, look. But okay, can you walk us through that time? So maybe what you were doing in New York, talk about your creative path, and then I'll ask you questions. What turned it into this
Okay.
wellness? So go ahead.
Okay. So Karmaloop, I this was also a very rough time for me financially, but just to this here is like a story of resilience and trust. And like now that I reflect on this often, but now that I've like just started reading more and just taking in more literature, I feel like I have more words to use. Shout
Yeah.
out to books. um
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
yeah, I mean, I was struggling with this a while ago. I couldn't like find the words to explain anything, and I just felt like I was constantly living in my head. So I am, yeah, happy that I picked back up and worked on that habit. But when I went or came to New York, I don't know.
Made your
I
way.
had just I had just, it was for an internship for my graphic design course at, what is it called? Centennial. Sorry. Like so many words are flying through my head right now and I need to slow down.
Oh, good.
Whew. Yeah. So I was also working part-time at like a local department store, Zellers. Shout out to Zellers if anybody remembers that. Basically like Kmart or Target. So that was like my 8-year part-time job, my first job. I was in school obviously and got the opportunity to do an internship, where you work for a business for free. You like trade your time and hours for school to like learn and shadow at a job. And I chose to go to New York.
Yep.
I looked at the farthest place that I could find, couldn't afford, and got it. And had to
Yes.
figure out how the hell am I going to survive in New York? But when I landed it, my mom was able to reach out to a friend, her old partner, actually. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it was all the way in Jersey, West Orange. That's where I was residing. And I landed with the $500 in my bank account and a internship that I'm about to work at for no money.
Yeah.
But this was something that I wanted to do. Like I knew Karmaloop, I was familiar with like the brand. Online shopping was like just growing with them, I feel, especially where you could get like an array of brands, streetwear brands, Ray-Bans, like things like that. So just to say, I was in a graphic design communications program, which was a very general and broad program, I feel, and very, very good. Because like we went through all the mediums and forms of creation, like art, fine arts. We went down to like pencil drawing, all the way up to portfolio building and photography. And it wasn't until I hit the photography portion of my learning that I was like, ooh, this is something I could see myself doing.
Nice.
Just because that echoed the feelings that I got in high school. I had the opportunity to do darkroom for most of my schooling in high school, which,
Yeah.
yeah, that was my introduction to photography. And I was like, oh, I love this. It
Wow.
was a challenge.
That's deep because I didn't recognize that, like how much photography was embedded in you. Because I do remember like when you had to go back to Toronto for a bit, you gave me like amazing creative books and like old school cameras. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do.
You're like, I love you. I have to go here. I'm like, I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to work. But I
Oh my
love
God.
that. Yes. So anyways, I didn't mean to interrupt. So
It's okay.
photography was a big part of it. And then it was you working within the graphic design like umbrella of school. And then
Mhm.
you gained a lot of skill sets in that. So then when
Yeah.
you went to Karmaloop, was that more in photography or graphic design, or was it just a mix?
So Karmaloop was crazy for me because I originally got hired for graphic design,
Oh,
which, yeah, so I was able to create, you remember Plunder?
yes.
Like
Oh
their
my
like half
God.
brand. Yeah, it was like their beta brand, I guess.
Yes. Oh my God.
So I originally got like none of my stuff was like meant for Karmaloop, but they tested on Plunder and I was able to like, just work on graphic design stuff, but I fell out of love with it, I feel, while working there.
Okay.
Just the context of the clothing and stuff just wasn't aligned with me. So then I was like, okay, I need money.
You're like,
I'm gonna
thanks,
take a step
internship,
back.
money now. Yeah,
Yeah, I was like, I need money. Like, I mean, let me
that's
not
real.
put out my whole life on here, but I did work under the table for some time, cut down my hours working at the office, and had to like make that work for survival.
Yeah.
Um, and then the opportunity to like do photography came up, and I was like, I have a camera. Like, I just so happened to bring my camera from Toronto while I was out there, and I was like, hell yeah, I'm doing that.
Yeah.
So I'm very grateful that the opportunity landed in my lap.
Yeah.
Um, and
And how
yeah,
old were
the
you?
talent up in there was just like really inspiring. Like, we were around a lot of dope people, and it
Like,
was just like you couldn't help but want to shine too.
yeah,
So that really, I feel, showed me that I'm capable of like
yeah,
doing this,
yeah.
you know?
Like just being surrounded by they're not just creatives, but it's also the hustle, also the environment
Mm,
that they create, the collaborative environment created. It was like a very inspiring environment to be in.
yeah, it was.
Long. How old were you at this time?
I feel like I just turned 21.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, yes. I remember. A lot of good times. I
I
could
was
never.
definitely legal to be drinking up in there, okay. But it was like, it sucked because obviously I'm legal here, 19, but
Right.
there I was like, am I gonna be,
You're
am
like,
I
what
gonna,
are these rules?
yeah.
What are these rules? Now look at you, like drinking your tea, all cute. See?
First of all, I'm actually drinking soda water and
Oh,
berries, like blueberries,
I like.
a banger.
Ooh.
Hmm.
Okay, you're gonna have to share that with
Hmm.
us during the mindful cleanse. But okay, so let's continue now because you were in this world, the creative world, getting the inspiration, killing it as usual. And then there was a time where you started to step into the wellness, into fitness. Go ahead and share what that looked like. Or
Right. So just to give a bit of backstory on my relationship with movement, um,
yeah.
it's actually been a part of my life since I was very young.
Hmm.
Uh, I used to do gymnastics and swimming. It was my dad and my way of bonding. Like, we would both go to the YMCA
Oh,
every Tuesday and Thursday, and sometimes on the weekend. Um, and yeah, it was there that really sparked my love for socializing, one, and learning like something new through movement. So I never did any of these things professionally, but they were a part of my life till like maybe 8-10 years.
okay.
But yeah, so now as an adult, after high school life and kind of being forced to choose, something extracurricular, and I actually I have a bit more backstory. In
Yeah.
high school, joining all the teams was my way to like get out of my house because I lived in a toxic environment. I'll just put it like that at home. So my home life wasn't that pleasant, and that was my way of like escaping.
Mhm.
um,
Mhm.
and being with my friends. I joined student council, athletic council. I was on volleyball team. I was on the basketball team, track team,
Yeah,
um,
I remember.
all of the teams,
Yeah,
dance
you were
team,
like,
did
yeah.
instruments. Like, I just joined these things because it brought me joy, and it was my way for survival, just mentally.
Mm.
Now I'm seeing that now that was my way of staying here.
Yes.
Um, so in my adult life, I did, fall off of that. It's all about money and how you're gonna pay for going out and paying your phone bill. And like, with that just comes the constant hustle of like, where's my next paycheck gonna come from? What am I doing with my life? What do
Right.
I do for a consistent job? And I just wasn't enjoying my jobs. When I came back from New York, I was so depressed.
Mm.
Um, I wanted to there was like a scarcity of graphic design jobs. Like, I just wasn't getting the interviews. Um, yeah, and it wasn't like I had to ride out my part-time jobs,
Mhm.
and I wasn't doing any movement. You know what I'm saying? It was just that
Yeah.
constant cycle of like, what are you,
So
what are we doing?
funny. So it
student
went
student
from straight. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, like, and then student loans on top of that. Like, it was just, you know, you need to make money to like pay your stuff back, but like, what are you going to do now that you like and that is a good environment for you?
Right.
So with that struggle, I was able to actually get a job in the graphic design field full time, and I hated it. Not my
Mm.
thing. And, you know, I feel like if I did have an outlet outside of just commuting, working, commuting, and then coming home to sleep, I probably would have been in a better headspace, but it was just so draining. And the people that I worked with just weren't like, I just wasn't feeling it. Like, I didn't feel secure. I always felt like I was like tiptoeing. Although I would come to work from like 8 o'clock because I had to take a really early bus to get there on time. I couldn't leave at 4. I'd have to stay, you know, like just these
Yeah.
little petty things. Although you see that I'm here at these times, and it's just, there was no room to actually um, like grow, I guess, or feel
Right. I mean,
welcome.
I love how you use the word petty, because I noticed, the people that I've been working with too, where it's this, the corporate world,
Mm,
corporate world, not all of them, but a lot of, it's common where it's like the office politics, or how you look like in order to look like you're being productive.
mhm,
Being like a cog in the machine sort of way, and then the dynamics of coworkers. But also I think like being a natural creative soul where you're just purely in your alignment of how you live in the world and how you create your life. It's
mhm,
hard when we're up against, like a boss that's expecting just productivity numbers, not saying like we can't do that as creatives, but there's always this calling of finding our center and staying in our truth and being purposeful with everything we do, right? Which we'll
mhm.
go more into later. But so really quick, like you looking at, Talia age 22 or 23, is that when you got it ish? Well,
Sorry, what?
how old were you when you got it? When you,
Graphic.
yeah, like the graphic design job.
Oh, yeah, that was probably like a year after. So 20,
Okay.
22, 23.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then going back to Talia 22, 23, who didn't have or know tools of like how to self-care or recognize like, no, that's draining and it's not worth it.
Mhm.
What do you think you would have told your 22, 23-year-old self to be
Hmm.
able to balance who you really are, like your truth?
You know, I got asked this question in my session today, but it was to my 13-year-old self.
Ooh,
And I'm going to say the same thing,
yeah.
that you need like trust in the process. Um, hmm, I guess I said protect yourself. That
Mm,
was something.
yeah. Yes.
And I was encouraged to say that everything will be okay. So I still stand by that for this question. I feel like it's just trusting in the process, you know, listening to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what do you want? What is working for you? What's not? Um, and I mean, I can't go back and change anything, but I see that all of those things led me to what I've discovered now. So
Yeah.
I'm happy that I just did all of those eventually.
I
Yeah.
love that. So it's trust yourself.
Hmm.
And then you were saying you were encouraged to say, what was it? Everything's okay.
Everything will be okay.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Wait, if you don't mind me asking, why were you encouraged to say that?
Ooh, why was I encouraged to say that? I
If
mean, this is gonna get dark.
Well, if you feel comfortable, you don't have to share.
Yeah, I do. It's fine. I'm open to speaking on this, and I feel safe in your presence. So thank you for holding space
Yes.
to do this.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was just speaking on a time when I was wanting to self-harm and made those decisions to not. I
Mm.
mean, there have been times where attempts were made, but I was just like, I'm really happy to be here. You know, like I see that, you know, that I matter. Like I'm just happy to be here. So
Yeah.
it was just, you know, trust in yourself, everything's gonna be okay. And trust in the process, protect yourself, do what's right for you.
Mm.
Yeah.
Thanks
Mhm.
so much for being open and trusting to share that. But let's kind of like look at it. Like, would you say, you know, like, I mean, we don't have to go to 13-year-old self. Let's stick to 23-year-old self. I mean,
Yeah. Mhm.
like, regardless of not knowing these tools or even allowing yourself to really believe that, do you now, would you say you believe to trust that everything's going to be okay?
I've been navigating through that in the last 2 years. It took me the last 2 years to truly believe those words, which
Mm.
is why I can say that now for myself. But it took me to actually try it and feel it and live through it to be like, okay, yeah, girl, you can trust yourself. Come on. Like,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
But I'm realizing it. If you don't embody these things, or if you don't have it for yourself, how can you really be that or do that for others? And I realized that I wasn't. Or you know, there would be relationships where that wasn't there. And I'm just like,
Yeah.
why are you still
Right.
here? Like, let it go.
Oh, that's powerful stuff.
Yeah.
Powerful.
So movement, I feel, was that anchor, like that thing that helped me arrive to something and let it go. And like, you know, go through this cycle of cues. Like I realized the cues are the things that they were familiar for every movement that I've tried so far. Breathing, taking your time, form,
Yeah.
um, you know,
Oh, that's,
feeling.
yeah.
Sorry?
No, I'm just saying, I think that that's perfect, especially
Yeah.
when you slow down, getting into your breath,
Mm,
getting into the body rather
yeah.
than allowing ourselves to get into our head, which is just living in this modern age with all the stimulus around us. We can't help but be in that and let that dictate who we are. But
Mhm.
you're right, the cues just through movement, that's a healing practice. It's healing the nervous system. It's rewiring our habits and our self-talk. So powerful that you said that, if that feels real, like the realness of that feels right.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. So you're saying movement was when things started to reconfigure itself. So now how did you get into the weight training? So
Mm.
that's where it really started, the weight training?
Yeah, in my adult life, it was weight training.
Cool.
Yes. I confided in a friend who I saw was posting his progress on Instagram,
Mm.
and I was like, hey, I want to do that.
That's awesome.
And he was like, well, come to the gym with me. And I was like, done. So um, that to me is just that asking for help, you know, finding that person that's doing what you're doing and connecting with them somehow. And yeah.
Yeah. So, oh, I love that you said asking for help because that's a big thing. It's a big thing. I mean, that I still struggle with now, you know,
Same.
but I,
Same.
right, in all different aspects.
Yeah.
But and then having an accountability partner or someone to, similar to us going, you bringing up like being in the um the environment of other creatives, you know, it's like who you're around, they help uplift you, they help level you out to how you want to play the game of your life, right?
Mhm.
So it's awesome that you found someone to inspire you, to push you to do that. So I know you went through so many different types of movement practices. So just let's like now jump to today. What would you define your wellness practice today?
Okay, so today it consists of meditation, breathing, and it consists of flexibility with the movement that I choose. But something is getting done almost every day. So,
Mm.
yeah. And if I don't get to movement, it's definitely my meditation. Um, and then there was a time like the summer, while we were on lockdown, I was able to really dive into that and just be like meditation, movement, reading, what am I eating, cleaning, like just like figuring out that flow that felt right. But also listening to like what I needed, like what do I feel like doing today? And then being okay with whatever decision I make. I just know that some type of effort went into um, my self-fulfilling practices, because they make me feel good. And even though every day I don't feel like, or there's days where I don't feel like doing it, I know if I'll do it, I'll be happy that I did it. Those things.
Yeah.
Like when you're happy, you just like happen to keep that dollar, and then the next day you found it in your pocket. You're like, oh my God, I'm so happy I did that. Like
That's a good one.
it feels like that for me, and I like arriving to that feeling. Like, so the fact that I can achieve that daily is like, it makes me feel good.
Yeah.
That's a motivator for me.
I want to just stress to that example of like, let's just save this dollar. And then in, a month, you're like, yes, thank you. Last month
Right?
me or
And
last
I
week.
love when I come through for myself. I
Yes.
always say
Oh, oh my
I
God,
just
that should be a t-shirt because it's like,
ooh.
right? Because it's the thing of like with movement. Why it was big to me because the way you said it is because it's not like guilting yourself. Like, why didn't I move? Like, why didn't I move today? Like people, we go so hard on ourselves if we're not always consistent with the type of movement that we're doing, the capacity, the burnout. Instead, it's more of no, I'm actually moving to take care of myself. It's an act of self-care rather than I just need to like only get tiny and, like the
Yeah.
very unhealthy way of approaching it.
I had to go through that though to arrive here.
Mm.
Because it wasn't all just, oh, I know, like this is today's practice, but um
To explain. What was that?
while weightlifting, I was so intrigued at the results that you get with weights, like how your body does change. And I was able to actually witness and keep track by taking pictures. So that really helped me see the transformation. Although there are still poses you have to do to like see this cut for whatever six pack, whatever, or flex, it was just like, okay, you're still seeing it. However, I got explorative and experimental with my eating, which brought me to even more extreme results, but those things were not sustainable. So when I lost the habit of like going to the gym every day and then to a place where I couldn't afford to go to the gym every day, I was hitting this place of like bad habits, eating. I'm indulging with socializing, which was great, but then that brought me even worse habits, eating out, eating late, eating shitty things, ice cream, bubble teas, like talk to me, all of that. And then on top of that, I am a cannabis user as well. So I just feel like at that time I wasn't very like good, or I didn't come to a place that was sustainable with that either. So everything was just kind of out of whack, which made me then gain weight. And I wasn't happy with how I felt with the weight. It's not that I was, saying I was big or whatever. It was just like I didn't feel good. I started feeling uncomfortable with my body.
Mm.
And the way my clothes were fitting me were like even more uncomfortable. And I just like, something's got to go. Like, I have to stop with the late nights, stop with the ice cream, like literally Ben and Jerry's in a night.
So easy. That's the issue.
It is. It's like, how could you not eat this all?
Real.
But yeah, I just picked up a lot of shitty habits with, it was I was depressed. I was really, and also transitioning, but not allowing, like I just went from one extreme to the other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So an extreme jump, you mean?
Yeah, like extreme eating, in terms of like reducing your calories or being really good one day and the next day I'm just eating a block of cheese to hit my caloric intake, like things like that. Like I just was so lazy, I guess. And
yes,
it just brought me to a place of, you're wearing it now. Like it's on me.
you're wearing it. You're like, oh, here's the results.
Yeah.
Man,
It was, yeah.
I love that you brought that up. Thank you so much for bringing that up.
You're welcome.
Because it's that extremes. The extremes aren't terrible, but a lot of the issue that many of us experience is finding the balance in between.
I have to sneeze.
Bless you.
I'm like, let me know. I didn't want to. I am wearing concealer, and I was like, oh god, I can't put my in this. Whatever.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. No, but I love that you brought that up because, I mean, you and I, we're doing this collaboration because you and I are totally in the same world of wellness and, fitness and eating, but in a way that's sustainable and in a way that isn't unhealthy. Mm-hmm. And in a way that's like flexible and real and achievable. And it doesn't, it's not trying to like fuck with your self-talk or have you have these really terrible viewpoints of your body and how you look and how you feel. And I love that you brought that up. So what's cool is that, I mean, and the reason why I love working with you is because you've experienced both. And you've experienced the intense restriction of food, the intense restriction of like from caloric intake and perhaps maybe I don't know if you told me this, but did you go into like over exercising at all, or if not, I'm wondering.
No, I didn't over exercise, but it was definitely my eating. Like my eating was
and it's true. So it's kind of like the thing with food, it's such an easy way to self-soothe with a different way.
Yep.
With anything emotional, anything that's off balance and off kilter, it's so connected to how we create patterning of our behavior. And if there's something uncomfortable, or if there's a belief or a patterning or an emotional patterning that isn't addressed within, it's the easiest way to just put a Band-Aid over it. And then, but then, there are times where we could be like using food to give us the most healthiest experience of our life, healthiest body. It's operating at its most optimal. And in fact, the body wants to live like that. It wants to operate like that. But what it is, and you shared it, it's kind of like the social norms that we are living in. It's the stimulus of outside of ourselves. And it's a lot of what's going on inside. So you experienced a lot of that. And I'm so excited to work on like to help, the people that are joining us for the cleanse to dive deep in it without judgment. Because that's the thing. Things that you experienced, even what I experienced, like even body dysmorphia, also being in fashion and even picking up what viewpoint of beauty is with our body. Like I picked that up. It fucked with me too, but recognizing that that isn't you. It's not like you don't need to judge yourself about it. We're just adapting. We're like animals in a way. We're mammals that adapt and we mirror. It's like mirror neurons. So if you're around that environment, you can't help but bring it in. But then it's not really your fault, to be honest. But once you're aware of it, you could reprogram it. So I'd love to now ask you what happened, or how did you start to recognize that perhaps like the overeating or over binging or something, like how is all of that working now? Like where you allow yourself to still indulge, because we can indulge ice cream. Like we should not be like, never eat that. No, that is not sustainable. And
Yeah.
that is just only pain to your own self. But what is this for you now? Like what allows you to balance?
Ooh, so after going through my ice cream mania and body dysmorphia, I did experience that. It was picking up the things that worked when I was rigid about my practice, when I was getting to weightlifting. I was like, okay, greens work for me. The macros, the macronutrients, like protein, carb, fat. I was like, these three things are what transformed my life. I didn't realize that I could just consistently eat these things and I will be full of energy, I will be strong, and then water as well. So I was like also navigating through eliminating a few things like dairy. Just for me as a kid, it always hurt my stomach and I didn't realize that it was tied to that. But it was like, once I eliminated that, I never got that pain anymore, you know?
Oh, girl.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I still eat cheese, but I don't drink milk anymore. Like I just can't. So it was just like, yeah, tapping into those things that I learned, that I saw made a difference. Like I became very obsessed with recording my food and like talking about what I'm eating and talking about the macros, and I was weighing it. Like this is when I was in my rigid practice. I was weighing like my veggies and my meat and making sure I'm getting this much, or just hitting some kind of threshold for the day with meals. And that was fun, but like weighing your food gets exhausting and it's not fun anymore. So today, I sadly am in a place where I'm not feeling connected with eating, with cooking, not eating, because I like to eat. But my relationship right now with it is just like, I'm not motivated. I don't like standing in front of a stove. I'm sorry, I've been doing this for so long. I just don't want to do it anymore. And I'm looking to simplify my approach for that so that way I can enjoy it again. And I'm grateful to say that I have a partner who's aligned with my ways as well. Like we both have been through our own journey with nutrition and movement and see the benefit in the basics. So he's able to, we brainstorm together on meals and he just like takes over. Like, shout out to you, baby.
Yes. Oh, that is so helpful because
it really is.
Yeah.
I'm like,
the fatigue in the kitchen is real.
Yeah, I'm just like
not
right now.
But
Plus, yeah. But when I still, so like we'll have a day like on the weekends, I swear every weekend we have a pizza day and ice cream. Like Saturday, Sundays is one of those days. We're getting a box of donuts and we're getting a So
Fun.
we are like very flexible, but
Yeah.
we know that we have to get back to the basics, you
Yeah.
know. Hmm.
And then you get back to the basics mainly because you feel good.
I love the way I feel.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's not like, it's not the guilt of it. It's just like, why do I just want to feel shitty? Like,
Or why does this just make me feel shitty? Where's like why?
yeah.
You know?
Right. So I love that you were able to experience how optimal your body could be
Hmm.
through the real, like, so, if anyone works with me, I like to call it the magic plate. And it's literally the plate where it's the main macronutrients. So the right carbs, the healthy fats, and the protein. And the thing that I also loved you saying, you're like, oh, I didn't know why my stomach felt like this when I was younger to milk. But I could still have cheese and all of that. So the thing is, this is why like one restrictive diet for everyone, like there's not one size fit all type of diet, because we all have a different biodiversity, the epigenetics of where we come from, our genes, also our environment where we are, all plays a part. So some people could eat bread and still just like the metabolism's just like, cool, I'm just gonna burn it. Other people will be like, well, my biodiversity to bread or cheese, it just wants to hang on and turn it into fat, because it thinks that cheese or dairy, it's like it's an inflammatory to their body, that it thinks that they need to go into survival mode. So if they're feeling like it's causing inflammation in the body's just like, oh my gosh, we got to stop working to get this out. So save all of the resources, which is all of the food that we consume, and let's turn it into fat. If that makes sense. So
Yeah,
everyone,
I'm learning.
you're like, oh.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's different for everybody,
Hmm.
And again, I love that you shared that as an example of what is working for you, you know, and what did not work for you. But you could still enjoy dairy a certain way, but still reset your system to be in an optimal way. So that's cool. So then what would you say, like, oh, actually you shared how you eat now because you're being flexible with it and that's sustainable and you're not restricting yourself. But I kind of want to go back to movement. Like, are you moving all the time? And why is it important? Like, how's
Yes.
movement for you?
So now it's evolving to a more intuitive space. Um,
Cool.
just since, I mean, my journey has been through community learning to teams to competitive to learning all over again in a new space and mentorship and learning about your form and, setting a goal and doing it and smashing another one. And then I found myself after going through my body dysmorphia um, time
Mhm.
um, that I needed to practice um, slowing down.
Ooh.
Like slowing down was something I really desperately needed, just because I was not. It even like would reflect in my decision making. Like I just wasn't taking time to process things. Like I
Mhm.
was just in this autopilot. When whatever gets thrown at me is just like yes, 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 yes. And
Yeah.
I wasn't like actually processing what these things were. Um,
Yeah.
so I realized also like my attention span. I made a video about this on my YouTube channel, and I just talked about my attention span just being so short, and me like my internal self saying this, and me being like, okay, well, how do I stop? like like how do you get this back?
Mhm.
And then an app just came to me. Like I had ClassPass on my phone, And I just started going back. Like, I was like, maybe I can go back to a gym, picking up back that habit of like going to a space, and then you dedicate an hour, 45 minutes to like,
Yeah.
exert some energy. And then I couldn't afford it, like I mentioned before. So they had another app that was a version that you could play at home, like an audio one. And yeah. Okay. Bye. Sorry.
Bye.
So yeah, this audio yoga, first of all, it helped me save money because, like I said, I was just going through a tumultuous time with like work, not really, I was building my business, so I wasn't really in a place to like start generating an income. And yeah, I was working part-time. I just couldn't afford the $60 a month for this thing.
Yeah.
So when I discovered this app, and when I discovered that it was free, I was like, you are going to use this.
Yeah.
Check it out. Do it. You can still do something for free,
Yeah.
And it still gave me that focused energy that like weightlifting would give me, but in a different way, you know? And yeah, I said I was going to just try and be silent for 5 minutes. And like, that was such a challenge.
Yeah.
To just quiet the mind, like quiet your mind for 5 minutes. I was like, how the hell, like it's been a minute and 30 seconds and I can't do this. Like, my brain would not shut off, and I was like, how do I do this?
Yeah.
But I just kept doing it. Like, I was like, okay, you're going to do it again. You're going to do it again. And this is what taught me, now that I see, practicing self-forgiveness, allowing yourself to have trouble, but accepting that like, that's just where you are right now, but keep doing it.
Yeah.
Um,
So what made you, like, what helped you keep like the consistency of this routine or this ritual?
it was a way for me to not look at my phone. I was
Mm.
also having trouble. Like, that was where my attention span was stemming from. Plus, there was like just a situation that was happening in my life that I was very much like overthinking and obsessing about, that like my phone became like it was just not a
Oh, like
pleasant
a crutch, if anything.
yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. And I just, yeah, it was just like that thing, this phone was not serving me in a positive way. And I felt like this, if I just find a way to like get off it, no TV, no, like not looking at anything. I needed to stop looking at things,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
just like listen to like, what's going on in here? What's up?
Oh, good. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that
Mhm.
need to like, there's like something emotional and triggering that's also connected to the phone that you're just like, it's not healthy. I
Yeah.
need to just, I can't allow myself to succumb to this. So it's just knowing that you're like, I'm not going to let myself operate this way.
Yeah.
Wow. Strong-willed.
I didn't know it then, but being able to reflect about it now, like, I see that.
Yeah. Oof.
That's me listening to myself, right? And like trusting whatever that message is. Although it didn't feel clear. I guess it was clear. It was just like, keep coming here.
Oh, so it just, so you just couldn't help but know that you needed to do it. So something was just like, keep doing it, keep
Yeah.
going.
Hmm.
Oh, so guided, if anything.
Hmm.
You knew you had to do that. So, has this, or first, what type of meditation were you doing? Is it just like a silent one or?
Well, it was a guided meditation. I want to say it was more like visualization,
Okay.
because they did talk, you know.
Okay. Yeah.
My brain's going to the first thing they always say, beginning with the deep cleansing breath.
You're like,
And
cleanse.
yep. And another, and I'm just like, okay. And then he, well, it's male or female, but they had different themes. And I felt like each theme was so serendipitous to what I was feeling.
Yeah.
It was just, it was just unreal. I was like,
Mm.
oh my gosh. I mean, the title, not so much, but when it, like certain cues or things that it would bring you to, I was just like, I feel that. I just lived that. Okay, I can release it or hold it or whatever it is.
Mm.
Just being able to navigate through um, nagging thoughts, reoccurring thoughts, filtering out through thoughts. Like, I was like, I didn't know I could do this.
Yeah.
And then I picked up journaling because I saw that I could write down the resonating thoughts, that it's okay that I had so many thoughts, but not all of them are important. But maybe if you just write it down, you'll see what was important, or like, what is the message, you
Yeah.
know?
Yes. Ooh, dang.
Yeah.
Those are like real tools working together. Um,
Hmm.
because it is true, like the journaling, you're able to tap into the subconscious more, which is where all of like the patterning and the looped pattern of how we behave is. And but you also allowing yourself to get into a meditative state to analyze what's going on without judgment.
Hmm.
And that calms like the nervous system down. And then going straight to journaling, that's immediate, I'd say, healing.
Felt like it.
It sounds like it. I mean, especially too, you finding meaning. So that's the one thing, like trusting and then trusting that there's a meaning. So you're saying there's a theme, it's connected to something. So that's where change happens. And I love that.
Mhm.
So with well, let's see. Oh, I have so many questions.
This is the space for it. Let it rip.
I know, but I'm like, okay, this question and then that and then this one. Um, okay, when do you meditate? Like, do you have like a ritual, a morning ritual?
Oh yes.
Very
So
good.
I was testing this out during the pandemic. Um, and I realized that I like having a morning routine. It supports me. I need that. Um, and hmm, it's just funny because I just feel like I really did pick something out and choose how I was going to change it or adjust it, or if it's working for me.
Mhm.
Like down to, when do I get to spend time with my partner the most? When should I stop working so I can spend time? When, um, like, what time should we be eating? Like things like that. And I realized, not everything's in my control. Like, I obviously know that. But even just acknowledging it and kind of questioning yourself about it made me function, made me be more intentional.
Mhm.
So with all that, to answer your first question, I meditate in the mornings. I realize that starting my day with these things makes me feel accomplished at the top of the morning. And also, I realize is what fills my cup.
Good.
Energy exertion gets me like, pumping. And yeah, it's a way for me to like tap into what I'm feeling. What am I holding today? What's inside of me today? um, and not all those things are relevant per se to the actual day, but they could come up later. And I being able to journal lets me um, just reflect on it later. Like, it's not living in here and creating an anxious thought, because that's what I realized, that's what it was doing to me.
Mhm.
I was just getting anxious because it was all in here and not in a physical place.
Yeah.
And it was a lot for me to keep up on.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, just giving myself the space to listen to myself, quiet the mind, let whatever it is like come through, has been so um healing. Like you mentioned, it has been very healing, because I feel like I'm creating this space to listen, trust,
Mhm.
uh and just receive.
Mhm.
from myself. Sorry. That's
It
like-
agrees. You're
yeah.
like, yes. No, that's true. I mean, I love how you said that, because quieting the mind, it's not easy, but then it also sounds, well, it's not easy, but as you were consistent with it, it started to become an automatic state that you naturally started to live in, right? And
Mhm.
um and you knowing that that's how you want to start your day, you're setting the intention up for how the rest of your day is going to be, because
Mhm.
you're, like you said, filling your cup. You're knowing, you're acting from a place of your resonance, you're not letting yourself be pulled here and there. I mean, we might, and that's okay, but the fact that your body knows that it could trust you to, in the morning, give itself attention, your mind, your nervous system, the subconscious, consciousness, all of that. It's
Mhm.
knowing that it trusts you that you're going to take care of you. So I applaud you for being able to do that.
Yeah.
Um, so you do that in the morning. Do you have like a time you wake up um, all the time, or like, do you brush your teeth first? Do you eat first? Like what's the ritual?
So my timing is not consistent. I do work part-time.
Mhm.
And then I have my entrepreneurship life. So in my entrepreneurship life and being able to work from home now, I've been very flexible with my sleep, with my time that I start work. It's just as long as I get to it, and I make time and space to like do that. But also honoring what my body's saying to me on those days as well, because if I have been going, days on days and my body's not feeling up to it, I realize I need to create time for that rest. Like it's just better for me to set it for 2 days later
Mhm.
and give myself the time and space to recharge
Yeah.
and then get back to it. Um, but it also took me finding help to even going for those endeavors that I'm doing in my entrepreneurial life.
Great.
I feel like I'm a little off track on your question, but,
No,
but
no,
yeah.
that's okay. Well,
Mhm.
I do want to bring it back to, gosh, you said a lot of good stuff. I want to know more of like the body wisdom, self-love aspect of it, because it ties into a lot of it. So,
Yeah.
okay, like you're being flexible in general. So
Mhm.
I'll help you if anything. We'll go back on track. The flexibility of feeling what your body needs. You're going to do in the morning, but you're like, we know every day is going to be a little bit different. No need to guilt ourselves with that, right?
Yeah.
And that flexibility allowed you, it sounded like over time, for you to actually know when you're fatigued or drained and when to put in a self-care day. So you said 2 days later. And I'm like,
Mhm.
oh, this girl knows. Like, you know the rhythm. Like I mean, you and I talk about this all the time. And I'm like, girl, how did you find your rhythm?
Mhm.
Can you talk about the rhythm first, and then we'll go into body wisdom and self-love, because it's all connected. But how did you figure that out?
I just tried different things.
Okay.
Um, and I'll bring it back to 2020. This year just really allowed me to test that. Um,
Yeah.
the seasons are changing, our bodies are changing. There's time. I'm realizing when the seasons are transitioning, want more sleep. Um, when we had the fall of lockdown, I wasn't setting an alarm. I wasn't working, so I was able to do this. So I really took advantage of, um, you know, going to sleep when my body says so, waking up when my body says so. I was keeping track of the things that were like consistently happening. TMI, but like I was literally waking up and pooping first thing in the
Right.
morning. Like it just
Ooh, right.
became, it just started happening. I'm like, okay, this could be my alarm. After that happens, I get my lemon water, I bring myself to my mat, or I would go outside and read at that time. It was like,
Yeah.
just following whatever that it is that I wanted to do, but having these core activities that I was consistently coming back to on the daily. Um, so I didn't mention, but I did have an app. It was called a Habit app.
Mm.
And I literally listed all the things that I wanted to consistently do in my life, whether it was daily, weekly, and monthly.
Cool.
And once I determined what those things were, I would check them off like in the morning and or when it got done. And I was like, okay, like you're doing it. Just being able to have a actual record
Mhm.
of my progress really did encourage me and motivate me and was self-motivating. And that was also something that I adapted from my job, my part-time job. And although it felt daunting in my part-time job, you know, like someone's always watching your results and stuff, it felt good here. It felt
Mm.
necessary in this part of my life, because it was like, these are things that make me feel good. You should keep doing them,
Right.
you know?
That's so good.
Uh, yeah.
And so what about like when you started to recognize when you feel like there was a day or certain activities or projects that you might have accidentally overexerted yourself and your cup started to feel depleted? How do you come back to that?
Yeah. Navigating through rest was very difficult for me.
Yeah.
Um, it was like instant guilt the minute I just came on my couch, kicked up my feet, and did absolutely nothing. And it wasn't until, oh my God, I'm gonna die. I'm dying with this story that just came to my brain. It
Mhm.
wasn't until this day that I'm gonna speak about psychedelics. Is that
Okay.
okay?
Yeah.
That I did this mushroom chocolate.
Mhm.
And it was like a day that like it all through these months, I was literally every month choosing something to change or reassess and working on it. So I became like this, like I just became too obsessed. Like literally every like a cleaning day, what day am I working on my AMILLI'S stuff? What day are my classes? Like, you know, I was just trying to design my life, but I was filling my time up,
Yeah.
you know, like I wasn't spreading things out. It was just like, okay, I'm free this day, I'm doing something. I'm free this day, I'm doing something. I'm free this day, I'm doing something. There was no day that I was like, you're not doing anything.
Yeah.
And I felt shitty
Mhm.
for that. And it wasn't in like, there'd be days where my partner would like come in, he's like, you should do it, like have a day where you're not doing anything. Because I was like just complaining, I guess. You
Mm.
know, just complaining about being tired, complaining about the same thing. He's like, I think you need to find a day where you can actually do nothing.
Yeah.
And I was like, you're so right. And having someone that could see that and validate that, I kind of needed to hear that to feel okay with it. I'll be honest. I realized that I felt like what I was judging myself for, he was going to judge me for.
Mm.
And it wasn't until like I saw the strength in like confiding in him and just having someone to like bounce your ideas off of or just vent to,
Sure.
um how powerful that is. And um yeah,
I
all
love
that
that
to
too.
say,
I
yeah.
love that, because it's different when, someone outside of ourselves to are able to see a pattern when they're not in your head.
Mhm.
They see a pattern removed, so it's kind of more easier rather than us being able to just be in our head and just be like, "This is what," it's like all this the noise to justify something,
Yeah.
but also, you know, finding tools so that we could still be dependent on our own and what you're saying, like not feel like codependent on something or only work off of validation. Not that you are doing that, but it's like different when it's a fresh voice being able to be like, maybe do this. And I love that. I think this is going to be big for a lot of people, especially Well, for me and my fellow philams, and especially being a woman, and growing up feeling like we need to take on everything
Hmm.
and not share or even recognize the feelings that or depletion that we're feeling. What you said about looking at the calendar and just being like, there's no space for nothing. To be real, for me personally, before quarantine too, I was exploring that, but didn't really get it until quarantine or lockdown happened. And I'm like, why do I feel expansive? Like, why? Oh, I'm like, why do I feel like I'm playing hooky and it's okay to
Hmm.
actually just exist the way I want to exist? Why?
That
So the
part.
guilt, it was like lockdown took out the guilt just because the world had to stop. And I'm like, that is so sad. And I didn't realize how much I was like hurting myself because of that, or
Hmm.
comparing of like how productivity should look. And I really didn't know what self-care was really until all of that, even though I'm like, I think this is what it is. But thank you for sharing all of that, because now it makes sense why you're like, okay, 2 days of having nothing, because I went back to what you said. You're like,
Yeah.
days to do nothing or something, or like
Well, so what I do is, if,
Mhm.
for example, like tidying my space, if I didn't get to it today, I schedule it 2 days later, so that way I can actually be present and like feel whatever I'm feeling in this present moment. And if that means finishing off whatever it is that I'm doing right now or doing nothing. And then the next day it's already scheduled. Like I kind of already have my days planned. I wake up first thing in the morning and plan, but I also have adapted like scheduling on a calendar. So I just like to insert things on days that,
Yeah.
yeah, I can choose if there's room or not to do more.
Yes. I
Yeah.
love that. So creating the space within your calendar so you could just continue to honor yourself. Ooh, that's
Yeah.
so big. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm taking notes on that. I mean,
Mm.
personally for me, I'm still exploring it, but mine is, if I have big things that I'm doing, I know that I need to actually give myself 2 hours of space in
Mm.
between, because the way I process, I need to feel through it. I need to really process through it. And then for it to feel right. Like I'm very like that. But ever since it worked for me. But
Yeah.
I'm just sharing that because I hope people who listen to this will see that we all have our own natural rhythms, and that there isn't one rhythm. There isn't a 9 to 5 that works for everyone. There
Mhm.
isn't an expectation on how to work with your time, you know? So I think these are like beautiful examples. So thanks for going deep on that. Okay, but now I want to go into your body wisdom and your self-love portion of it. So my
Mm.
question, yeah, because okay. So I just want to know, how did your exploration of health, so like food mainly, I'd say, and mental health and fitness or movement shape your relationship in loving your body and your inner self?
Ooh, okay. My heart is bringing me back to when I was in Muay Thai. I didn't mention this.
No.
This is one of the first, actually, before weight training. This is one of the first adult activities that I decided to join,
Mhm.
and I was very intrigued at just like how we can transform just from adapting like a new skill.
Mhm.
I transformed in strength. I transformed physically. And I was just so intrigued by that I was like, okay. When I discovered the weight training and saw my friend doing that, I saw that as another way to test that out.
Mhm.
So yeah, it was just it was just how the dedication of movement really does shift and change the way your body sits on your muscles and your muscle growth. And I was like, this is so cool.
Yeah.
You know, I'm still me, but I'm seeing myself change into a form that I dreamt about or was inspired and saw, and now it's on me.
Mm,
And it was just so empowering that I could achieve this.
yeah.
So that whole, like, from weight training and then into yoga, and seeing how after my body dysmorphia, how my body was transforming through silence and like
Mm,
body weight movement, and consistency, like it was the same thing, you know, just returning back to that transformative result world.
mhm, mhm.
I loved seeing results.
Yeah.
And seeing that I was like, it was attainable through my own movement, like whatever I'm doing, like this is contributing to this change. I didn't have to look for anything outside of myself
Mhm.
to get it. I didn't need an actual space. I didn't need a gym membership. I didn't need a treadmill. Like,
Mm,
things were things I can do in, I was in a really small room in my partner's old house where we were staying when we were first dating. And it was like this, you know, this small little back room. And I was doing my yoga back there every day.
mm,
And it just, the weight started, you know, shedding off my body, and I was feeling better in my clothes. And I was just seeing shapes form, and I'm like, "Ooh, I'm almost doing a handstand. What? I've never been able to do this before." Like, just seeing how the dedication of the practice would bring you to a destination you never thought that you weren't doing 2 months ago.
yeah, I love that. So it's the dedication of a practice, which is,
Yeah.
and one, I also found it beautiful how you connected weight training to yoga.
Mm.
And from me, from what I'm hearing you talk about, is that process, the dedication to the process. Yes, of course, because you see the beauty of the results physically, but that process, it sounds like you fall in love with the process,
Mhm.
or like your relationship to your body, to your feeling is created in that process. And now I'm actually tying like connecting it to what you're saying with meditation, because you're now, it's like you're stringing meditation into like the movement practice, and that's how a practice um was formed for you. Tell me if like I'm saying, like I'm
No,
making words.
this feels like accurate to my experience. It was very much that. I see, that's why my today life is so flexible with movement and activity, because it is the process that I find peace with.
Love
Yeah.
that you find peace with. So it's like a movement is meditation. You hear people say it, but you feel
Mhm.
it, you lived it. And I love that you explored so many modalities of movement. But again, these are like powerful things where it's that relationship building is that journey. So that is, I mean, is that also the reason why it's easy for you to be consistent? Is because, I mean, it's part of, you're living and breathing it.
Yeah, I feel like that's just like a personality trait for me.
Oh yeah, the consistency.
No, 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 sorry, like, just wanting to try different things. This is where
Okay,
the birth of a million minds ties in, because it's what I embody. I feel
I
like my
love that.
brain is a million minds. There's just
Oh,
so that's where it came from. Because I was just so indecisive at a time. I saw it as indecisiveness, but now I see it as imaginative. Like, I just want want to try many things. And um, through lockdown, I've been able to work on that, work on releasing my limits surrounding my creativity. I've invested my time and skill into learning these things, and I think it just took me to see that um, that I'm capable, like I'm worthy of doing these things. I've earned it. I'm able to express now in my own way. I don't have to mirror everything in front of me, and the journey's mine. Like, I can choose if I want to do this today, if I want to do this today. Like, you know, that's just where I'm at. And I
Yeah.
feel like that applies to my creative life and now my spiritual journey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Powerful. Ooh, that was so well expressed.
Thank you.
Because, you know, being an entrepreneur, being a creative, and being someone always curious, it's like, what is the parameters, a healthy parameter or a structure that you could play in and out, and you'll know you'll always get there. And it sounded like you found that. And it resides in your morning routine too, right?
Mhm. Yep.
Wow, these are a lot of big like nuggets. So with things that where people they're big stuff. So you know, people who do come across this and they're just like not really knowing where to start out, what tips would you share on maintaining a healthy routine while juggling. Actually, let's go with let's mimic you. Maintaining a healthy routine while juggling part-time work, creative business, maybe entrepreneurship or a project if people are into that stuff, and the wellness. Like, what are tips on maintaining a healthy routine?
Ooh. Okay. I just, I'm just like, where do I even begin describing where I began?
Right.
um, I want to say that choose one thing to work on first. Um, Maybe it would be one thing in your personal life, one thing in your financial life, one thing in your social life, and work life. Like one thing, four things to work on. And for example, I just shared about this on my Instagram, but I was told that I wasn't being accountable for my actions at one time. And that expression burned a hole into my self-esteem. So then I chose to make that the thing that I work on. So I joined this group that it just so happened that once I chose to work on this thing, the
Mhm.
opportunities came to me. There was an opportunity to uh, join a workshop that was going to help you release fear and unworthiness, and it was through accountability and action. And that thing is what helped me combat that problem. So when it comes to my personal life, it was choose one activity daily to do.
Yeah.
When it came to my eating, it was get hydrated every morning. Start your day with water, lemon water. When it came to finance, it was check your bank account every day.
Mm.
And then I worked on those things. And once they became second nature, I moved on to another. But I would dedicate a month to practice it.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, the first week was never good. Like, I was like, why am I doing this? I'm going to spend this because I have the money right now. And then it's just like, that's not what you need to work on this. Right. Because I chose to work on that. It would go off in my head that I actually need to pay attention to it.
Yeah.
So yeah, just being aware of the things that you want to work on. Choose your weaknesses, step up, look them in the eye and be like, you are not good at this. You need to fix up, and choose what it is and how you want to work on it.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love you also saying choosing. We all are able to choose that for ourselves.
Yeah.
And from my experience is there's this beautiful thing that happens with accountability and community. You talking about your experience through that with a group that you found, big. It catapults you. And not just that, it also normalizes what you're experiencing, right? But also the feeling of accountability, which makes sense why we're doing this program. Like,
Mhm.
I think people will be in good hands because we're about all of this. But the cool thing is that when anyone chooses to invest in themselves and invest in a particular aspect of their life so that they could live as vibrant and free and empowered as possible, that's a different, that's when what you're saying, up leveling to the next level happens. Because how do you normalize like the thing that you're trying to work on? It's
Right.
just digging in for like 21 days to a full month until it becomes a pattern, and then it's the next steps. But it's just even more like powerful with people holding you accountable and supporting you. That's awesome. So then would you say, I mean, is there anything that you would say for people who are going to be joining us? Or how about this? Like, people who are going to be joining us in the cleanse, what will they be hearing from you, or like
Mhm.
getting inspired by when it comes to you?
Ooh. Um,
I'm throwing it at you right now.
yeah, you are. That's okay. I want to say um, that we're going to be talking about listening to yourself, giving yourself the space to listen to your own voice. Um, Being intuitive, I guess, is the word that I'm looking for. Encouragement to step outside of your comfort zone, just because when I started taking pictures of my transformations, I was able to like see a physical change. Because when I look at myself in the mirror, I was just like, ain't nothing changing. But looking back at photos, it was like, it's there, and you can see how subtle and drastic they can be. And having fun, like make it fun.
Yeah,
Choose
Lord.
something,
Yeah.
choose a way that like work. How would you want to support someone you love? Like if there was something they were struggling with and you wanted to give them a tool that really helped you, like what could it be? And I feel like it's having fun with it. That's why like recording video too, a little snippet of what you're doing,
Mhm.
how you're stepping out of your comfort zone. It's like proof that you can step outside of your box, like you set the boundary, like you can step outside of it, but it's your choice.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, yeah.
That's awesome. And I think what's going to make this program special compared to the other ones that I've led is, I mean, not just having you be a huge part of it, but you are adding to getting us to go deeper into the self-love and allowing ourselves to shine.
Mhm.
So what I've noticed is many of us, it's easy to just hide, and that, it's fine. Like it's easy to hide. And when you're able to just explore what shining could be, or just the feeling of putting something out there in a very safe, non-judgmental container,
Mhm.
is like the big first step to just exploring your best version of yourself. So I'm excited to add that to this program because I haven't done it that way with people before.
Yeah.
And especially with tracking your transformation through visual means. Um, and I'm going to be pushing, do not judge your visual you. It's not about that. We're turning it into a play, and also banding together to experience that together. You know what I mean? So yeah, there's going to be a lot of talk on non-judgment about it, but instead being playful about it and being proud of where you are in that moment. Because it's not just the visual, it's about who were you during that time, and you're going to see and feel the transformation as we progress. Um, Also, it's a better way to work a good metric if of progress versus a weighing scale, because a weighing scale is not real. Like,
I didn't mention a scale once.
you did not. I
Mm-hmm.
love it. I love it.
Yeah.
It's I'm not gonna let people be judging themselves on their progress based off of a weighing scale. It's not true. It's not real. Um, there are times, especially as women, we're going to be fluctuating with our hormones, with our water intake, because the body needs to hold on to that. If we're building more muscle, your muscle's going to probably weigh more than what we think would be, oh, we're losing fat, right? It's not that. It's just the visual of your physique that's going to naturally change.
And
You
how
a
you
lot
feel.
about, yeah, and how you feel. That's like huge one. Oh wow, I have like a
A
shining light.
halo. A halo.
Okay, hello.
Hello.
But yeah, so it's going to be a mix of adding that on, and but really, what is your body wisdom telling you? Your body wisdom is going to tell you that you feel amazing. You don't even need to look at yourself. You feel what's right. You know that what you're eating, that made me feel so good. Like for 4 hours I didn't even care about snacking, you know. It's all of these things. So we're going to tap into body wisdom. And Talia, like, I'm just so excited you're going to be a part of it.
Yes.
Yeah, this is good.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you too. Thank you so much. And honestly, that's all the questions I have for you. This was so yummy. But yeah, so I'm excited for what we're about to create and how we're going to help people.
Yay.
Any closing words or anything, or questions, or?
No, I don't have anything else.
Okay, love. Well, thank you.
You're welcome. Mwah.
Mwah.